below. It is a very exciting day. There has been an abundance of precipitation. However, before you can go out and frolic about, construct snow people and spheres of snow to hurl at your neighbors or any passersby, we have to talk Hamlet. Today we're going to be looking at page 103 to 125. I will try to keep this quick, and then you can get outside and frolic about. Page 103, Hamlet is sad and depressed and continues to feel increasingly worse. He continues the conversation on 103 with Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, who, again, were two friends from his childhood. Hamlet's uncle, Claudius, had sent his childhood friends, who are actors, to come kind of spy on Hamlet and try to figure out what's wrong with him. And Hamlet basically feels like there's no point to anything at this point. The beauty of the world, the paragon of animals, and yet to me, what is this quintessence of man? Quintessence of dust. Man delights me not, no, nor women neither, though your smiling seems to say so. Hamlet's like, there's nothing in the world that makes me happy anymore. There aren't any men that make me happy. And then his friend kind of giggles at that, and then he says, not women either, that wasn't my point. And Rosencrantz said, that wasn't my point either. But he's trying to give him a hard time a little bit so that hopefully he'll start to laugh and be in a little bit better mood. Hamlet tells the actors that they're welcome, but he kind of gets to the bottom that they've been sent, and he says that his aunt and uncle, and this is on 105, at the bottom it says, "Let me comply with you in this garb, lest my extent to the players, which I tell you must show fairly outwards, should more appear like entertainment than yours. You're welcome, but my uncle father and aunt mother are deceived." So the actors and the people who are in the play are very welcome here, but he's like, my aunt and uncle don't know what they're talking about, and by aunt and mother don't know what they're talking about. And then he goes on with Guildenstern and says, I am 107. I'm but mad northwest. When the wind is southerly, I know a hawk from a handsaw. What he's saying to his friend is that sometimes it's going to appear like I'm crazy, right? But I'm not crazy all the time. And so he's kind of telling his friend that there's a bit of a performative aspect to the way he's feeling, right? And that aunt and uncle don't get it, right? And I think his mom does, right? Aunt mom does, but uncle doesn't, or just won't admit it anyway. On 107, Polonius, advisor to Claudius, comes, and it's again Polonius and his daughter Ophelia and Hamlet are kind of together. Polonius tries to appear very smart. He lists all these different types of literature, and Hamlet just keeps making fun of him. And again, if you notice here, when Hamlet speaks to Polonius, he speaks in the stupid person speak, and not the iambic pentameter that he does when he's talking to smart people or when he's giving soliloquies and speeches about himself. At the bottom 107, Hamlet refers to Polonius as Jephthal, not Jephthal. That's a word that I probably should have checked out the pronunciation for. Anyway, this is a story from the Bible about this guy who had to sacrifice his daughter because of a rashly made vow. Now, that might be something you want to keep in the back of your head. Going on. Then the other actors show up, and Hamlet demands a passionate speech. And the passionate speech is from the Aeneid, which is a work of Greek literature, and it's about the fall of Troy and about the death of King Priam by Pyrrhus, who was seeking revenge for the death of his own father. Excuse me. Now, there's obviously some similarities between that story and Hamlet's own story. And we're going to start to see where we try to have some of these ideas acted out in art, right, and in theater, and then see how people react. So in this play, he has to give a passionate speech, and the actor does. And on page 111, Pyrrhus seeks revenge for the death of his father and kills the king of Troy, Priam. So he gives a speech, and it's passionate, it's over the top. And on page 111, Polonius said, "For God, my lord, well spoken, with good accent, good discretion." At first, Polonius is kind of impressed by the acting, and he compliments the actors for doing a nice job. Then on 113, the speech keeps going and going. Then when we get to the part where Pyrrhus kills him, not Prius, Pyrrhus kills him, Polonius starts to get annoyed. This is too long. Then he finally finishes the speech on page 115. Now, Hamlet is satisfied with the speech, and he compliments the players, and he said what he wants is a play, and it's called The Murder of Gonzago. And in this speech, he asked that he's going to write his own speech to include in the play, right? So what this play is about a murder, right? And again, the play that will be performed has some similarities with Hamlet's own story with his father and uncle. And the idea, so on line 560 on the bottom of 115, follow him, friends, and we'll hear a play tomorrow. As Polonius and the players exit, Hamlet speaks to the first player. Dost thou hear me, old friend? Can you play A Murder of Gonzago? Aye, my lord. Hamlet. Well, we'll have it tomorrow night. You could, for a need, study a speech of some dozen or 16 lines, which I would set down and insert in it, could you not? Aye, my lord. Very well. Follow that lord, and look you, mock him not. Now, in addition to performing a play about a murder and see what Uncle does, we're going to get Hamlet's own personal words on this. Play about him, so see how Uncle reacts. Hamlet's also going to put his own little speech in there, right? So he's going to make this play especially particular and especially match up with what happened with his uncle. Everybody leaves. And on 117 and 118 we get a kind of extended monologue from Hamlet. And again, whenever you get a character alone on stage in a Shakespeare play, talking directly to the crowd, it's known as a soliloquy, which is one of the more fun words to say. And it's what the character's thinking, right? These are the character's inner thoughts. And because there's no other characters on stage, and we're looking not at anyone else on stage, but directly out, like breaking the fourth wall, essentially, into the audience, we can assume that we can trust the feelings of this character. If this was in a movie, Hamlet might be doing something else, right? Walking around doing stuff, going about his day, and we might hear these thoughts as a voiceover. But on stage, it didn't work, particularly at Shakespeare's time. You couldn't do a voiceover. So instead, this was a theatrical device. And at first, Hamlet is impressed by the acting and also annoyed that he doesn't feel as strong about his own situation, which is real, as the actor feels about that situation, which is not. But is it not monstrous that this player here, but in a fiction, in a dream of passion, could force his soul so to his own conceit that from her working all his visage waned, tears in his eyes, distraction is an aspect, a broken voice, and the whole function suiting with forms to his conceit, and all for nothing? He's like, this guy, with all of this was in his head, all of it was imagined feelings, and he still generated this passion and feeling over imagination. He was basically saying the actor went nuts. What would he do had he the motive and cue for passion that I have? He would drown the stage with tears and cleave the general ear with horrid speech, make mad the guilty and appall the free, confound the ignorant and amaze, indeed, the very faculties of eyes and ears. So he said, if that actor who was given that over-the-top performance actually felt as strong about something as I do, the tears would flood the audience. Like, it would be such a passionate performance that people would be terrified. And then he compares that acting to himself and how he's feeling and behaving. Yet I, a dull and muddy-muddled rascal, peak like John o' Dreams, unpregnant of my cause, I can't even be moving forward to try to deliver the birth of this cause, which is the killing of the uncle, and can say nothing. No, not for a king upon whose property and most dear life a damn defeat was made. Am I a coward? Who calls me villain? And then he goes on and on, ranting about how terrible he is. And then on page 119... he's like, I will go through with this and do it, but I won't feel it. I won't feel what I'm supposed to be feeling, right? He feels an obligation to go kill his uncle, but he feels like in this situation, he should feel something very strongly and want to go do it. He said that I, the son of a dear father murdered, prompted to my revenge by heaven and hell, must, like a whore, unpack my heart and words and fall a cursing on the very drab. He's like, I'll go through with it as a job, but I won't feel it. And he's comparing himself to a prostitute. At the end, we get another famous line, and he says, we'll perform this play, and then we'll watch my uncle and see what he says. And if he acts guilty, if he reacts to this thing, and if you were watching a movie which showed a crime or something bad that you had just done, you might react too. The play's the thing, wherein I'll catch the contents of the king. The next act starts, and Rosencrantz and Guildenstern report back that spying on Hamlet didn't work. And then Polonius sets up a meeting where Hamlet and Ophelia are going to meet, and Polonius and Claudius are going to hide and overwatch them, right? So Polonius still thinks that Hamlet's madness is due to love for his daughter and not about death of father. So that is all we got. We should be back in school tomorrow, and I look forward to seeing you then.